Before I begin this video, I just want to issue a warning. I will be touching on a topic that I am woefully underqualified to discuss. I have no military experience and cannot begin to fully understand the effects of war on service members, both past and present, foreign or domestic. If you feel you might be sensitive to discussions of war, specifically the Vietnam War, please be aware some of the content of this video might not be right for you. And if you are a service member, active or retired, thank you for your service. When I watched Platoon for the first time as a teenager, I was haunted. It was the first film I'd seen that didn't glorify warfare, but rather showed me the raw futility of war. On top of the pointless deaths, it demonstrated how war steers good people into monstrous behavior, attempts to dehumanize entire populations, and leaves the survivors psychologically scarred for the rest of their lives.
We did not fight the enemy. We fought ourselves. And the enemy was in us.
Hell truly is the impossibility of reason, and war is truly hell. So when Ocean Software was tasked with developing a video game adaptation of the Oscar-winning film, they took their charge very seriously, crafting a deeply psychological role-playing experience that bucked the conventions of all the warfare video games that preceded it. Just kidding. They made another janky war simulator with no real connection to the source material, in an attempt to cash in on the naivete of the preteen boys who were destined to fall for the grift. We'll carpet bomb this latrine fire of a game in this edition of... There's a wealth of putrid video games based on films. Usually these games look to simulate the experiences of popcorn action, science fiction, and fantasy films. Fluffy blockbusters with equally fluffy video game spin-offs. Rarely do game developers look to the films of award season for adaptable content. On its surface, Platoon might seem like a perfect candidate for game adaptation. It's full of heart-stopping war sequences. The iconic poster art instantly converts into an equally attention-grabbing game box. But just below its surface is the film I hope we all saw. The one I talked about at the beginning of this video. A film that, if anything, should encourage you to avoid warfare at all costs. Even warfare simulated with 8-bit technology. That's what makes Platoon the game such a repulsive abomination. It exceeds the usual offenses of film game adaptations. Slapdash design choices that hinder gameplay and muddles the narrative line between the movie and the game. It commits the extra crime of missing the point of the source material so spectacularly that the game could actually counteract the intended goal of the filmmakers. Gameplay is split into 4 different stages. Stage 1 is a clunky side-scrolling shooter. You have to navigate through the jungle as NVA attack from all sides, including dropping out of the trees and popping out of spider holes. Navigating to the objective without help is an excruciating slog of trial and error. The controls are very stiff and cheap deaths are abundant. Often you'll be shot down only to be descended upon from above immediately. Tripwires and enemies popping out of spider holes are often hidden by sprites in the foreground. These attempts to create parallax would be better if bullets and bodies didn't constantly cross in front of them. The second half of this stage has the player navigating through the village and picking off guerrilla fighters while attempting to spare innocent villagers. I guess this is a very pedestrian attempt to simulate the movie's disturbing village razing sequence. Stage 2 is a first-person 3D traversal of the Viet Cong's underground tunnels, a clunky attempt to recreate Sergeant Elias's tunnel exploration in the film. In addition to a new perspective and new controls, this stage also lessens the amount of lives and hits you can endure before receiving a game over. Stage 3 attempts to simulate the movie's very intense foxhole sequence. You send up flares and pick off enemies until the assault ends. This might be the most tolerable and true to the film sequence in the game. Stage 4 brings the player back into the jungle, this time incorporating another new gameplay perspective, third person and mostly vertical navigation. Because you are trying to return to the LZ for evac and avoid the impending napalm bombing, this is the only time stage of the game and must be completed in 4 minutes. At the end of this stage, you encounter Sergeant Barnes in a bunker and must fight him. Not shoot him while he's down, completing Chris Taylor's character arc, mind you. It's a head-to-head fight.
Do it.
I get it, there had to be a boss fight at the end, but this final injustice to the story is too much. So many NES games seem unplayable by today's standards. Platoon is no different. Without save states and navigational aids, I wouldn't wish this game on my worst enemies. Add to it the almost offensive misunderstanding of its source material, and I dare say this is one of the worst NES games I've revisited. War is hell, but war on the NES shouldn't be. Like this video and want more like it? You know what to do. Don't make me beg. Subscribe.